Welcome, Reanimated fans, to this week's episode. I'm coming to you from Brooklyn. I'm H.A. Conrad. Joining me is my intrepid co-host, Stuart Tiffin, way out there in the Pacific Northwest.
I've been considering changing my podcast moniker to DJ Wetmouth.
That's pretty good. We will consider this. I will take it under consideration.
I don't feel like I need you to sign off on it. I'm pretty sure I can just be like, hey.
I have to.
Okay, well, that seems oddly powerful.
Well, I'm trying to play the other side of this in this particular movie. But we're going to be talking about what we're referring to is a movie called Didn't Die, and but before we get to that, we have a couple of two news tidbits, so to speak. One which is excellent news. Following up on our reviews of Widow's Bay, that show plus a bunch of other people involved with that show got 19 Emmy nominations, which is pretty amazing. Um, Apparently only the last three episodes could be considered. So because of the timing of it, but basically in addition to the show itself, Matthew Rhys, Kate O'Flynn, Dale Dickey, Hamish Linklater, Stephen Root all got nominated for acting, and then there was also a bunch of nominations for lighting design and other things. So really well done, and I'm really excited to see them getting the recognition that they truly deserve.
I saw a reaction from Dale Dickey.
Yeah, I
Uh,
did too. It was awesome.
what just happened? And then she says some pretty self-deprecating, like nobody's more shocked and surprised than me. Like, yeah, of course. And it's so funny that they only could look at the last three episodes.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm really excited that they really interesting, and I she really deserves it. There's just I think she said something like that she really expected that Kate O'Flynn would get nominated, but really didn't expect that she would. So she was just totally taken aback, which I thought was very nice. I mean, she's been in this industry for a really long time, and I would say she absolutely deserves it, if only for the episode with beach reads, her part in that.
Yeah, well, I guess they
I
couldn't even consider that one, which
I
is
know,
crazy.
but so I'm assuming they did it for her excellent ancestry recitation when she's in the fallout shelter. But really excited to see that they got such recognition for this show. So
That's
uh,
so
I'm
cool.
curious to see how they make out during that. But that's pretty wonderful news for them.
Totally cool news. Other cool news includes an article from the Denver Post came out this week about a video game that was made recently that highlights features of one of their famous parks. Che Cheeseman? I don't
Denmark.
think it's Cheeseman because it's missing an E, but I think it might be Cheeseman Park. And it was a graveyard turned grassy urban sanctuary. So, HA, I feel like you would be right at home here.
I would be. I love the cemetery sanctuaries. It makes me very happy.
Yeah. So this guy, Casey Cantor, made a video game that pits park rangers against ghouls by throwing frisbees at them while exploring this park with a lot of historical factoids. It's a cool idea for a game, and I'm not surprised that it would get picked up by their local paper of record and probably the tourism bureau.
Yeah, and it's like it's just like it looks like a fun little game, so I'm kind of excited about it. I will say I think the game was completely created using AI. And it has a little bit of an Oregon Trail vibe to it. Just really kind of basic in terms of the visuals, but it still seems kind of fun.
Hmm.
So anyway, just that's kind of I just thought it was a fun little tidbit. So um, you know, and I think it's especially popular in Denver, and so like apparently he's doing another kind of a game set in Washbark. So I don't know. I kind of like these little cute projects. So um So that is it for the news.
Super
Which
cute. Yeah,
means
tons of non-news. There's zero news. Actually, and last week we had like 40 different
we have
articles
a
to
lot.
talk about and trailers, and this week was a bit of a stretch. But I'm really happy for Widow's Bay and for Casey Cantor with his new
Yep.
game.
Yes. But that leaves us some time to talk about this film. Didn't Die. And we had seen actually a couple of reviews about this, just because they had entered it into, I think, a couple of film festivals and things like that. And it, so I'm psyched that we got to watch this, and I'm excited to talk about it with you. So this is a film that came out in 2025, and it is in black and white. It's directed by Mira Menon, and then somebody wrote this
It was
that's
co-written by her husband, Paul Gleason,
Gleason,
who's also the cinematographer.
right? And so, she's done a few films and has entered them into film festivals. But I think this might be the first film of hers that I've seen. Uh, but you know, it's a small film, but I really actually like it a lot. Um, this is certainly a Sundance premiere. I don't think it got a theatrical release that I can tell. But
Mm.
maybe it did in like maybe some little independent film theaters, but it's available on just the general streaming services. So I was very excited to watch it. And it's about an hour and a half, and it is one of these films that I actually, enjoyed. There's a couple of little things that I have some questions about, but I actually really enjoyed this as a project. I don't know if you had early thoughts, Stuart.
Early thoughts are that I did enjoy it, that I thought black and white was probably a good choice,
Hmm.
and it really helps the final little scenes of the film by taking that route. And it also helps the fact that there was some CGI in this that was
Mm.
shaky at
Yeah,
best,
it was a
and
little.
the black and white helped you not notice that until your second time watching it. I
Yep.
also just want to point out that Mira Manon has directed an episode of The Walking Dead in season 9.
Oh, I did not know that. Well, that's excellent. Excellent to know. Awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, little.
she's also got something else. I know she's got something else. I think a show or something that is coming out or something. But um,
Let's talk a little bit about this cast of characters. We've got the Malhotra family, or
mhm.
the three siblings of the Malhotra family. Venita, who's kind of our heroine, Rish, her little brother, and her, I think, older brother, Hari. Although in all the flashback footage, that actor playing young Venita is actually taller than everybody,
Yeah.
so you're
Yep.
kind of like not sure.
Yep.
But I'm pretty sure Hari's supposed to be the eldest sibling.
Yep.
And I thought that the three of them were really strong performers.
Yeah,
How'd you like the
I thought
Malhotras?
they were great. So it's Kieran Dale. I'm going to be terrible, so forgive me my pronunciation, but Vishal Vijayakumar and Samrat Chakrabarti. And then those are the three siblings. And then they're joined by Katie McEwen, who plays um,
Barbara,
O'Hari's wife, Barbara.
little nod there.
Yep. And then George Basil, who plays Vanita's ex slash eventual love interest. So it's a small
Vincent.
cast.
And he was good too. And honestly, all five of them I thought were
They had good
really,
chemistry, I thought.
really, yeah, like good chemistry, seemed very at ease and natural, considering that like a lot of the time it was very quiet and just like they were having to kind of, I don't know how much of this was improv, but it felt like some of it probably was because they were also acting with a little baby for a lot of the film.
Hmm.
And I feel like they weren't, this was a real live human baby, not a doll for
Right?
most of it. And so I think they had to work around what the baby was doing. And so I'm thinking of the scenes with Venita and Rish
Yep.
when they're sitting in that house.
Yep.
And we kind of cut in and out of that scene a few times. So I feel like they just spent probably an hour with that kid and just
Right.
kind of shot the shit and were like reacting to what the baby was doing. It felt like improv to me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, definitely. Those scenes certainly did. But I would say overall, the dialogue and the script was really well done and funny, and they kept it moving. And I really believed the connection between these actors, and I thought they had a lot of chemistry. And I think that this film did an incredibly good job at building the relationships and giving the audience like they're not over explaining different things. You can definitely like figure out what's happened without total exposition, but they also do give you enough of a background that you can kind of put together the pieces of just
Yeah.
sort of what's been happening here. So they don't go into real detail about what caused the apocalypse or whatever, just that it
Well,
happened.
there's one little line about like, oh, we all know about the rumors that Elon Musk caused, and then she
Yeah,
gets
I
cut
know.
off.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree that it was set up like without tons of exposition or telling. Just in that, I wouldn't call it a cold open, but the opening scene of the film is with a husband and wife and their child, or a father and mother and their child, and without really telling you what the deal is, we as the audience are read in that like zombies basically are inactive during the day, um, and the people aren't really worried about zombies all that much. They are kind of,
Right.
but not 100%. And then we also kind of learn during their scenes that things are probably changing, and
Yeah.
that kind of ramps up the tension about the undead throughout the film is that
Yeah,
things are changing.
and this is just because I'm annoying and this is when I watch these kinds of films, but I guess my and I get that it's probably hard and they talk about this that it's really hard to kill especially people that you know or used to know. And
Hmm.
I liked how they talked about how that was really difficult. You don't always get those kinds of conversations, and even the people that seem relatively like used to doing this, it's still not easy. And so, and maybe that answers my own question, but I guess in this particular apocalypse, they're still dangerous, the zombies, and they are basically um in the daylight kind of just much less dangerous because they just kind of go into sort of like a semi hibernation mode.
Yeah, they just kind of lie down. The first
Yeah,
one we see is just lying on the road, kind of twitching, and they are
yeah,
able
and I
to
guess
just stab
I,
it.
I get yeah. Well, so I guess my thing is that if that's the case, get rid of them all. Like if they're that vulnerable, put out some incredible effort to just get rid of them because then they're not a threat.
Yeah, well, there's certainly no even mention of like an organizational level to the society that they're in anymore. And a lot of this feels like a metaphor for living through COVID, based on like a lot of Vanita's sort of monologues that she's giving, and between her and Barbara and Hari's lifestyle of just staying in the house and drinking a lot. I was like, yep, that reminds me of a couple of years
Oh, I think
back.
it's a callback for sure. I think it definitely is.
Yeah. But it's like one of the things that strikes me about this film is they are nonchalant about the undead, or at least Vanita is, and her one of her brothers and Barbara, sort of nonchalant, but also like it kind of goes back and forth because Barbara's also completely psycho with her little spear,
Hmm.
and in a fun way. But they're like they give off the impression that they wouldn't really be that great at surviving an apocalypse just because of how nonchalant. I'm really guess I'm thinking of Benita, how nonchalant she is. But
Yeah.
then she is pretty good in the action scenes. She like kills a bunch of zombies in this film and does it without really any hesitation and seems quite competent at it. Um, and so it's an interesting juxtaposition between how unseriously she seems to take the apocalypse, and some of that is like the guardrails, the shield that she has
Yeah.
up around herself.
Lots of denial for
Yeah,
sure.
but that's one of the interesting things about the film too for me is like she even says in the beginning or near the beginning of the film, she's like, I thought I would be more ripped in an apocalypse,
I
but I
know.
can barely do a push up. And then in the last scenes of the film, of course, she's doing some Linda Hamilton style workouts and getting ripped, one can assume.
Yeah, and I think some of that is the guilt that she feels because
For sure. Yeah.
and big spoilers, things do not end well for Vanita. and her family. She survives, but you know, some things happen, and this is just compounding the guilt I think that she already felt because we eventually learn in this film that she was supposed to basically be helping with her parents and did not do that, leaving her brother um, to contend with them, and they ended up. I think her father turned first, and turned and and their mother just didn't know what to do, and so they turned together, and so and they could not she feels in a tremendous amount of guilt about that, and so there's a lot about her where she's doing a lot for her brother, but because I think she feels that guilt. So she's he has not, and this is he's the youngest brother, right? I think
Yeah, Rish.
so. Rish is the youngest. And I think he has never been able to kill a zombie, and they're, I think she said, how many years in were they?
Two.
Two, and he
I
had
will
never
say
done it.
that's one element of the film that I was a little confused about. But yeah.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, Reese is based. They're worried that he can't survive on his own, but yet she's just like at the beginning of the film, they're coming back from a road trip of we don't know how long, but it seems like it's been pretty long. They're coming back from a road trip across the U.S. recording their podcast, which is the meta part of this film too, is that it's about um Vanita and her pod. I guess it's really just hers, but I guess Reese has also been on the podcast from time to
Yeah.
time, but it's really her show. It's called Didn't Die, and the film takes place around her trying to record her 100th episode and how that goes.
I
Um,
mean, I don't know why people make a big deal out of those anniversary episodes. You should just
they should just blow right through them like we
to
did.
blow right through them and just not acknowledge it because that's, who needs to do that
It's
anyway?
it's kind of like having birthdays once you get older too, though.
Yeah.
I think when you get to the level of no episodes we've had, it's just like let's just keep going. But I did enjoy the meta sort of. It made me think about our podcast and whether I would ever bother to record one during a zombie apocalypse. And I think the answer is hell no. I'd be too focused on other things like survival.
I
They
don't know, Stuart. I think we would probably continue to
But I think this
record.
is an interesting part of her character and Barbara's. Like the two female characters on this in this cast are like really preoccupied with being together with other people, numbers, or we need more people around us for strength. And in Vanita's case, I think for emotional connection, even though she's quite flip, she also clearly needs to be around people and likes to connect, and that comes out across pretty clearly in the courthouse um, recording episode or scene because she's really trying to like get people to talk to her and having mixed results.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think she's getting after with the podcast? It
I
does feel
mean,
like it's fulfilling a need for her.
it's fulfilling a need for her. I do think that she thinks she's helping other people too, and maybe she's seeking that kind of a connection, and that's why she does the meetup in the courthouse, although it doesn't go quite as I think she's hoping
It goes pretty
it
well
to.
considering they're in a zombie apocalypse.
Right. But what it does do, and I thought this was like just very clever, is the the level of trauma and how everybody's processing it differently is really excellent. I also think it makes a great setting for Vincent to enter the picture, and it is pretty funny because he comes in with the baby and keeps trying to give the baby away to other people.
Yeah.
And there's some really good moments between Vanita and Vincent, but this is really one of the funniest where he kind of pops up again. There's just like that shorthand where people know each other really well, and obviously it didn't end well with the two of them, so she's kind of throwing out a lot of zingers at him, and he's just like, "It's not my baby," and he rescued the baby from the car, and we see this baby in the beginning, and this sets up the mutating zombie storyline where the parents of this baby basically we learned that the zombies are incapacitated in the daytime and they're scavenging and looking for a car and basically get overrun by a bunch of biters who aren't supposed to be able to move in the sunlight. And so this continues a story where the baby was basically saved somehow, and I think in the cab of the truck, and they must have been on the outside. And Vincent finds her. And but this kind of just keeps, I thought it was a pretty clever way to bring these storylines together and to confirm what Rish had said before, which was that they were out in the daytime and Vanita didn't believe him.
Right.
So I thought that that was like it served a bunch of purposes. It served sort of showing that maybe Vanita's audience isn't exactly what she's thinking, so she's really doing this podcast for her. It shows the connections that she's trying or not capable of making with Vincent, and that maybe repairing that. And then it also keeps the story moving with this storyline about the mutating zombies. The other thing I think is really interesting about it is that when they bring Vincent back to the house with Barbara and Hari, how this whole world is set up. And again, I think the pandemic vibe you got here, which is this group is kind of their own little cell. And so Barbara is kind of taken aback and Hari is taken aback that they've brought in a quote unquote stranger, even though they were aware of Vincent, right? Um,
I mean, he's her ex. I think, yeah, Hari knew Vincent before, but
right.
also Vanita's only been slagging him off the whole time
Right,
we've,
right.
yeah. So she's like, he's a serial cheater, she calls him and then she's like, you can't sell your baby at my podcast.
Yeah, no,
We
it's
should
pretty good.
also address the fact that this is clearly not a podcast. And they do mention
No,
that halfway through the film, but
and
it's
they
on the
teased her about
radio.
it.
There's
It's
no
on the radio.
electricity, there's no internet. Like I don't even know how she's getting something onto a radio broadcast. And she's recording this thing on tape in one scene, or at least Rish
Mm,
is like listening to it on tape.
yeah,
Or it's like a reel to reel sort of machine. And she uses several different types of microphones and gear throughout the film. So I kind of wish they landed on the one she had in the car is a Marantz type or something
yeah.
type, like a radio recorder, perfectly good. They could have stuck with that the entire time, but then I guess for looks, they probably wanted to have a few different. So in the courthouse, she has a different mic, like a an event mic. And then in the bedroom later, when Vincent joins her to help record, they have a completely different kind of like 50s cool retro looking mic. But I am really confused about how she was able to get her podcast on the airwaves. And I don't think we
Yeah.
ever actually see her get the 100th episode out.
No, and then but they have another reference at the very end, um, with the radio that this again, spoiler,
Baby.
that the baby who has grown up and is now like
Yeah,
six-ish,
about 6 or 7. Yeah.
is carrying around this little radio and dancing to this music. So something's still broadcasting for sure.
Yeah, that
Um,
and they do have little snippets of some like post-apocalyptic radio that they're playing, but you never get to hear much of it. But how cute was that little girl actress with her little dance moves?
they did a pretty good job with her. That was
Yeah.
good.
But yeah, like, and I was also a little confused because there's a scene of Vincent before he comes to the courthouse, before he finds the baby. He's sitting in a shack, doing something, but listening to a radio, and it's her show. And I think it's her like either setting up for the 100th episode or like the intro to the 100th episode. So, as podcast professionals, HA, we know that you don't like release this info your content like episodically halfway through an episode. I don't know. It felt
No,
like they kept on because partially we're hearing her record it, and so that's
right.
like coming across as a monologue. But in that shack scene, I swear he was listening to her do her 100th episode, which I don't think she actually ever published. And if she did, how would she do that? Like there's no radio tower at Hari's house. I guess that's one of my beefs. If I have a
Yeah,
beef.
no, agree, agree. So that was a little muddy in terms of
I
how
was
they did.
hoping that they would just have like, oh yeah, there's still electricity because this is a really low key zombie apocalypse. Like people can still maintain power plants, but actually it's not that good. Like they power up their Tesla by rowing on a rowing machine. I don't think they have electricity at all in the house, even though it's always quite light in there. And she has a lot of electrical equipment that she's recording her podcast on. So
Yeah,
maybe not 100% explained like how some of these things work, but
yeah. I think we have to suspend disbelief in this.
what? I never do that, HA. I
Uh,
never suspend it. It's always there, my disbelief.
hmm. Anyway, um, but there's aside from those little kind of narrative issues, which was the thing I also noticed. I do think that they they move this story along in a natural and good way. And I think, as I said before, I think part of why it's so successful is that they really focus on these relationships, especially between the three siblings, but also with Barbara, and Vincent. Barbara interacting more so with Hari, and Vincent with um, Vanita. And some of the things that I really like is that, um, you know, there's like a gentle teasing, like Barbara's bedazzled everything, and there's like this kind of Hari doesn't get into it, but Rish and Vanita do, but
Yeah.
they tease about Barbara's bedazzled headband and all sorts of
She's
things.
bedazzled her spear, like her zombie defense
Yeah,
weapon
and I mean
also.
she pretty much just shows up in sparkliness, and I think, and later on the headband makes an appearance
Hmm.
on the little girl's head, which I thought was kind of a nice homage.
Really nice. Yeah,
And
because
it was
even
a
though
good
they give
callback.
Barbara a lot of crap throughout the film, she's actually like a solid,
Yeah,
and I think people come around to that.
yeah,
And the film doesn't ever treat her. I mean, it does in one case when she says, "Do you want some chai tea?" to Rish, and they don't like do the joke because that's TT.
yep.
But they have him do a facial reaction. It just
His
lasts a half
reaction
a
is
second,
his reaction is pretty funny, and so
and she
I love that.
mispronounces other Indian dishes like when they're having a meal. So they kind of light gently make fun of her, but by the end of the film, I mean I was never under any misconception that she wasn't valuable because she's also the one answering the door with a spear in her hand, ready to stab
Right,
anybody who comes
right.
to their front door. So she seems pretty solid.
Yeah, and Hari loves her. They're definitely a partnership. They're aligned, and um, even in the case where they are having a debate, and it's a real debate, and turns out he was right and she was not, but they're talking about adopting the baby, and it's actually a very nice way that they work through that, and they have the arguments on both sides. And I thought it was very convincing, and I thought that that was just, again, in terms of world building, relationship building, this is where this not but the storyline of this family, this film really excels. So I thought that that was like really just nice attention and detail to that, and it made it a richer film. And even though it's a small film, so I really liked that and those dynamics. And it doesn't take itself too seriously. There's a lot of poking fun and humor, and subtle humor and not so subtle humor. So I thought that that was just very clever the way that they managed that. And for an hour and a half, they do like manage to put a lot of that in. So it feels like there it really isn't. Often I'm talking about these films and thinking they could use an editor, and I don't think that was the case here. I thought that the narrative moved along really smoothly, and they did a great job, even in the little like scenes that they had, in making the audience understand the stakes, the relationships, and what was going on with these siblings, especially even with like some of the flashback films when they were younger, understanding the loss that they're feeling of their parents and the things that they feel like that are necessary as part of what they need to do now.
Yeah.
And so I thought that that was all just artfully done, and I just I truly enjoyed it. So
I really liked the kind of like the fulcrum period of the film when Venita is being interviewed by Vincent, which was a very funny and sweet
that was
scene.
funny.
But then he's like, "How are you okay?" And it turns out no, absolutely not. She's not okay, and she's really worried about Rish. And then meanwhile, Rish and Hari are going through their parents' closet and finding photo albums, and Rish is breaking down, describing the basically the death of their parents to Hari. And like this is the moment where those two characters are kind of coming to terms with how they're actually doing. And then they decide to go out and uh, kill the parents who they've discovered are zombies not too far away. And I thought that that was a like in a way, yeah, it's like closure. It's about these bonds of their sibling bond that they all still share, and they have this little moment while they're out there about to do this deed. I agree with you. Like I think that the way that they handled those threads I thought was really powerful. And then Barbara and Vincent were kind of there. They moved the plot forward, but they also added some levity. And so did
Well,
Venita. She was constantly cracking jokes.
she was, but even in their the moments of levity with Vincent, the DJ Wetmouth is pretty funny.
Pretty
Um,
good.
they are doing this. She is trying to deflect him, as she seems to do with a lot of things, with humor, because it is really upsetting and scary, and she doesn't want to really face the realities of what's happening. And the thing is, though, as I said, he knows her and he is able to just like basically address that head on. And this is the first time with him, at least, that we've really seen her just be honest about how she's actually doing versus the facade she tends to put up. And she's certainly maybe using the podcast to do that too, with this sense of humor. And you can hear it in the banter and things like that.
Yeah, where
Um,
she's just like, we're all the hot, like too many hot people have died because of this zombie apocalypse. Like less murder, more orgies or whatever.
um,
Yeah, like
And similarly, Barbara with Hari has these very deep moments, even if there's some levity within it.
mhm.
They're pretty funny together. Like they have these little cocktails that they have at night, and like
Constantly having
constantly,
cocktails.
but like they play music together. It's like, so there's a nice balance of both the humor, but also the seriousness between these characters. And then with Hari and Rish, like when they actually go to look into their parents' bedroom, it's interesting because it's like it's unlocking a vault of real like deep wounds there because of what Rish has been through and what he witnessed. And this is the first time we've heard just flat out what happened to their parents. I mean, we know something bad happened, and like and something that bad happened to Reach, and we get some implication of some of this, but this is the first time we've kind of heard it from him. And not only does he tell the story, but also says that he went out driving to find out where they were. This is something that's been weighing on him, and this is the first time he said that he did that. And so this gives the three siblings, they know they have to do this, and they go, the three of them, they leave Vincent and Barbara out of it. But I thought that those were some really interesting things to unfold in the story and how they unfolded. Because Reach, even though he's not killed anybody, feels incredible guilt. And maybe he feels incredible guilt because he couldn't, because it was his father, and then their mother turned because of the fact that he couldn't do that. But I just thought that those were really nice not nice, but just interesting ways that they moved the story forward. And it honestly made it even more heartbreaking, with the result of what happens to our tight-knit family here. So,
Yeah. I mean, they commit a pretty major egregious horror film foul, which is
yeah.
for whatever reason. I mean, after they kill the parents, they're like, let's party.
Hmm.
I understand the need for catharsis and all, but so
Yeah.
they all drink and they play piano and they sing and they're having a good time. And then Barbara and Hari make the momentous choice to keep the baby, start a family, be parents, and they go inside and they're like, "We're gonna be parents," and then leave the door open because
Yep.
they've been drinking pretty much nonstop. Uh, and so that leads us to the inevitable third act element of it, where they've also been making a point of saying the zombies aren't that hard to kill, even at night. And it's what's unclear is why there's a scene of Vincent walking around before he comes to the courthouse. He walks right past one of his exes, Trish, and
Hmm.
she doesn't attack him at all. And I guess that
No,
was maybe how the zombies were before, is sometimes they would attack you and sometimes not. But now that they're evolving and changing, when they're out during the day, they're definitely much more
aggressive.
dangerous. And we see that in this fight scene that is toward the end of the film, because Hari and Barbara basically both get bitten in this scene, even though they're fighting and doing okay for themselves, but they both get
Right.
bitten. And it's
But
not long
they,
before
but I
Reach does
don't
too.
believe that they would leave a door open. So that's the one part that I have issue with. I just don't
Barbara
think
certainly
they
doesn't
would.
feel like the type, does she?
No, she's the one so focused on it. I just can't see that happening, but I guess that's how they played it. So.
But again, the drink, like they started the night, I think, with martinis and had multiple glasses of champagne. So
Maybe, but still. Anyway, but that's how they played it. All good. And um I I do I did wonder what happened to the dog.
yeah, Tommy. But
Yeah.
Bobby, yeah, definitely does not get taken with them. And
And
they are susceptible to zombie bites because we heard about that in the courthouse when oh when Vanita was trying to get some like, hey, let's have some moments of light. Let's share some connection. And all she's hearing is, I had to kill my mom, I had to kill my dad, I had to kill my dogs. It was kind of a funny element of it too. But yeah, that dog definitely does not get taken with. The only people in the boat at the end are Vincent, Vanita, and Baby. And Riche, very tragically, is just getting eaten by
he,
lots of zombies.
I was like pretty cold to leave him there to just be suffering through that death. Like that's
Yeah,
pretty rough. I don't know that I would believe that Vinny, maybe that's why she feels so guilty, but I feel like even though they may not have shown it, I think she would eventually have gone back to take care of him in the same way.
they were being overrun in that scene. There was
I
nothing
know,
else
I
they could
know.
do.
I mean later. I think she probably would have gone back. But then we get to unlike many films, we do get to see that they end up in a semi-happy place
In color,
in color, out in the desert with some walls, with some security, with some weaving and food stores and things like that. We've got,
candle making.
yep, candle making.
They
Uh,
both had haircuts. Vincent and Vanita both have haircuts,
yep.
and yeah, and like Vincent's feeling
She's getting swole.
she's just working out and being very distant emotionally, and
Mm,
but also really scared for bait. I don't know what else to call the kid, but baby. Uh, and he's like this emotional support guy, but you notice they're not living together. They have like separate weird little towers. This feels like some sort of artist commune, which it
right,
probably was out in the desert. But they're living in these two different little buildings, and the little girl is mostly with Vincent.
right. And that's the interesting thing too. Vincent and Vanita are not in the same little thing, but they're clearly together, or at least
Yeah,
supportive
or at
of each
least yeah,
other.
they're certainly relying on each other for
Right.
emotionally.
But it feels like the little girl is living with Vincent, not with her. And but she still, it's very funny. I do love there was a moment where the wedding necklace that belonged to Vanita's mother, the brothers are talking about it and eventually give it to Vanita. And it's, the little girl goes into Vanita's house and is like playing with it and things. And just like kids do, like they play with their parents' jewelry and she's trying it on. She's just like doing like it was like a cute little scene. Um and then we get to see her interact with Vanita later, but I just thought that was kind of fun to see her like sort of her independent life within this compound, which I thought was kind of fun. So, um uh, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
we're left with this final kind of image of, Vanita's crying again, and Vincent has just tried to console her that what happened, presumably years ago, is not her fault. It
Mm.
feels a little odd that maybe he has to say this to her every day. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
it feels like maybe this is a continuing conversation. Like she maybe needs, this is something she's grieving and mourning and still reliving. And
yeah,
so, and
but
that could be, what it is just to process this. But
and she's eventually able to shake it off to share. She goes for a walk with the girl and does the little jump up and click your heels together thing that she and
yeah,
Reach did at the beginning of the film. So
it's pretty cute and a pretty
it
nice little way to end it.
it's a nice little symmetrical, uplifting element, but it does feel feels like she's clearly not doing great
Yeah.
after losing her siblings in such a tragic way. Um, and she's obviously also completely off the concept of the audio medium. She doesn't want to hear the radio. She doesn't.
Doesn't want to talk about the radio, doesn't want to
Yeah,
show the little girl how it works.
no. Done
So
with radio, done with audio altogether. So not a fan of the podcast anymore. Never even got her 100th episode out, I don't think, which is tough. Maybe that's what she's really regretting and upset about.
yeah. So um So yeah, so I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was fantastic. I really loved the narrative. I loved the storytelling. I thought the editing was done really well. Couple of snags that you always get in some of these films, but overall I really thought this was just an interesting and a nice little film to watch. So I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, this was good. I enjoyed it also. And we look forward to if anybody's seen it and wants to share your impressions of it, just maybe share a moment of lightness and let's connect in this
Indeed.
courtroom with good voices and wet mouths.
Hmm.
So let us know. Send us an email at reanimatedpodcast@gmail.com, or you can connect with us on Discord at the Brain Muncher Zombie Collective. And next time on Reanimated, we're going to be talking about another film, this time going back to 1990, back in the 1900s, to talk about Tom Savini's remake of Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. I can't believe we haven't done this before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'll be good.
So very excited to chat about with you. And until next time, bye, and thanks for listening.
See ya.